Hello, I am Barbara J. Beckley, and I am the CEO of the Achieve TV channel. And we have this wonderful show called Achieve Experts Highlights. You are here to meet some wonderful, amazing alpha leaders and members of Achieve. This was just produced just so you could understand and get to know and conversate through the conversations we have. So you can say, oh, wait a minute, I might want to work with that person. I want to meet that person. Well, we have a gem today. And I always call the lady queens. And we have Queen Helen Snell here. And she's going to be talking about language with stories for sales. I was reading a little bit and I said, it's really important to understand telling a story is powerful. And she always says that's the secret sauce. So me and her are on a line with that already because I love storytelling. And I know that when she says secret sauce, she is so right on that point. So let's get to know Helen and we'll be right back. Hello, and we are back. So
Hello, hello.
excited. Hello, hello, lady, Queen Helen. Yes, yes, yes. I've been
I
really waiting for this interview. First of all, I love when I can talk to someone that we have the same mind frame when it comes to certain things that we do in our business. And you just did the check marks for me in every part, especially when it comes to storytelling and really being authentic in what you do, because that really is like a foundation for everything else. So when I see what you're going to talk about today, and the things that you do for others, I'm like, yes, 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 this queen is rocking it.
awesome. Well, I don't get called a queen very often, so I'm pretty excited about that.
Oh, good. Well, I already put your crown on there. In fact, I got to order it for you, and I need to send that to you
All
because,
right, I'm
yeah,
ready.
yeah. But right now, just imagine it's sitting right there. It's really straight and
Yeah,
looks really perfect and good for
I
you.
got it. I
You
got it.
got it. So with that, because I always tell people we're queens and kings of our empire, and say if we think that way, we'll do what we need to do for others the same way. So yes. So with you, lady, I want to start off, first of all, thanking you for coming on the Achieve Experts Highlight Show. I know this is time taken out of your busy day, but I know I love what I do on my own end is giving people visibility so they can get to know individuals. It's all about that connection, right? All about understanding what we do and what we can do for each other. And I really want to start off because I always say I like pulling the curtain a little bit from people's stories to see exactly why they got into what they do today. So, can you just give us a little take on that?
Sure. Again, I love the premise of what you've got on the show because you are showing people as they are in their authentic selves. It's not a pitch or anything like that, and that's so important in business. And my story really coming into this what I call myself a language alchemist, coming into this field of writing content, helping people become visible and
Mhm.
get seen and sold and close more sales, really comes from my own journey. And that often is part of our story as an entrepreneur. I was a rock solid, like no fear young woman in the corporate world. I worked with men like twice my age. I could talk my way in or out of any situation. And then I started working for myself. And all of a sudden, I lost that confidence. And I
Oh, wow.
realized, yeah, like it took me some time to understand that corporate culture was more about selling the corporation or selling that product.
Mm.
And all of a sudden, I had to sell me. And it took a lot of personal development to actually kind of overcome that hurdle. And I understood that a lot of other people, especially women that I was mostly networking with when I started my business, were in that same situation, that they needed to really step up and own their
Hmm.
personal brand. So that's what got me started on the whole storytelling journey.
Wow, that's powerful. I'm glad that you see. That's why I like pulling those curtains, because you find out the vulnerability, but you find out how a person got to where they are now, and that's why they like to help others. Because somewhere, I always tell people, we are our clients 10, 5, or 20 years ago, and we just
Yes.
want to help people get to that point that we, achieve to do. And I love how you said that, because it is a difference when you mentioned that, Helen. When I think about, because I work, it's funny because I still work in corporate during the day, and then I do all my business at night or when I can.
Yes.
And it is a difference, like when you're working in corporate with their type of mission and all that, compared to, okay, now it's your brand, it's your mission, it's your. So yeah, I can see there might have been, a little struggle there. Yeah.
Like I think, a lot of us think we have a business idea, but we don't realize that we also have to have this business persona. Like we are that corporate brand that's being put out there. And it just took me far too long to figure it out. So I wanted to help other people figure that out as well in a much more efficient manner.
Yeah. And see, that's what makes the collaboration, the connections so powerful. Because like you said, you don't want to see when you, I always say, I always tell people, learn from Barbara J. Beckley what not to do sometime. And this is the reason why I tell you things and stories, because I want to make it just a little bit easier than what I had to deal with, especially if I know and I went through the, like they say, I got the t-shirt for that or whatever. So
Been there, done that, got the t-shirt.
yeah, been there, done that. Don't, you know what? Let's work on you not having to go through all that. Let's stop. We can wait. We can
Exactly.
save some time.
Yeah.
So I love how you took that on and say, you know what? I want to show people basically how to understand. Basically, when you mention sales, I know when some people hear sales and marketing, already there's a little,
Oh yeah.
even if they don't want to admit it, Helen, there's a little,
Yes, there
yeah.
is. And that, again, it's that, I don't know, it's stories that we tell ourselves, right? About we've all been in a situation where we've had some slimy
Mhm.
person try and sell us something. And so there's a lot of fear around sales, because especially people that have, like people in the Achieve community that you and I are both part of, there's a lot of compassionate hearts there, and people don't want to be that kind of pushy salesperson. They actually become afraid of sales because they're not sure how to do it. And so my breakthrough moment was when I really realized that there is just this authentic place of showing up, learning how to use story in a couple of ways in sales. Like it's that know, like, and trust factor for sure, but you can also use stories to help you in that sales conversation, because storytelling actually is, there's a chemical process that happens in the brain between the storyteller and the listener that actually can help change the conversation and take away that kind of fearful threat that people might feel. So there's so many aspects of story, and if people could just embrace that, they would lose so much of that fear around introducing themselves at networking events, having a sales conversation, speaking from stage, whatever it may be. It's just a matter of owning your story and understanding that you're the only one who can do what you do in the way you do it.
And I love that, because there's two tips I know I want to really dive into that you want to talk about, and we're going into, like you said, with the stories and understanding your story and making it unique for you, because like you just said, you know your story. No one else has really been there unless they were part of the story. But besides that, you know yours, and we have so many, and a lot of times we say, well, I don't really have a story. And I always tell people, okay, since you've been on this earth, you have a lot of stories. You're just not thinking. You got to really dig. I said, let's start when you were like maybe 6 and go up.
It,
Believe me, you'll probably have tons of stories by the time you get 20.
yeah, and you know what? I think I'm glad you brought that up too, Barbara, because I think a lot of the idea around story is people think they have to have some big, I overcame this obstacle, or this is my, my power story. This is my adventure. But that's actually not really what storytelling is about. Storytelling, when I teach it in the business community, is just about showing up as your authentic self. So those stories from when you were a 6-year-old kid and you stole a popsicle from the corner store, or your first job, or what, those are all unique experiences that you have had, and that's what makes you who you are, and that's what makes you show up in your business the way you do. And so it's pulling those stories and letting the world just see who you are. It doesn't have to be a mountaintop experience. It's just the stories of you.
Yes. And I love that. And I, like you said, just to add to that, when you do tell your own stories, it's like you're going back to what you said about being authentic. And it's not hard when you think about it to tell it or to say it in the network because it's your story and you know it. I always tell people, I ask people, I said, well, introduce yourself. Tell me a little bit something yourself. Well, I do this and this. Was that hard? Because you know you. We know ourselves. We know our stories.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And when you're not trying to put on a persona,
Mm-hmm.
you don't have to worry about what is the story that I've told before. What do I have to remember? What do I have to say?
Mm-hmm.
You just show up as you. And if you have a sense of humor, if you're um, a very structured, strategic speaker, whatever it may be, you just show up that way, and you're going to have people gravitate to you who appreciate who you are, and that's the kind of people that you want to work with.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
because I mean, it almost gives you. I was gonna say, just add this and tell me if you think the same way. It gets to almost to a point of a boundary type of thing because, like you said, the people are gonna show up with you with how you relate to them. Now, if you don't really relate to them and they're like, "Well, Barbara Beckley's not my little cup of tea," okay, well that's okay. But you maybe your
Yeah.
cup of tea is Helen, and that's wonderful, you know. Yeah.
Yes, and it should be that way. Like, just you can, again, if we kind of go back to this world of working for someone else, you think of that idea of working in a job 9 to 5 that you don't like.
Mhm.
Why would you, as an entrepreneur, work with clients that you don't get along with?
Mm,
Right? You're putting yourself into that same stressful situation.
that's so true.
People will be drawn to you. You'll do a better job. They'll be happier. Everything's better all the way around. And I think
Mm.
one of the best things that we can do as entrepreneurs is fire our clients,
Yeah.
right? Sometimes they have, again, I know great coaches who have worked with clients, not that they didn't get along, but they get to a certain point, and then that coach realizes, I can't actually help this person anymore. They've,
Yeah.
surpassed where they are or whatever. And so they really do need to fire them and let them go. But you also
Mhm.
need to fire people who are holding you back, people who
Yes.
aren't letting you shine in the light that you are to the world. It's
Yes.
not helping your business, and it's actually not helping the client either.
No, it's not. And that was some good golden nuggets right there, Helen, because I always tell my clients too, when I know when it got to a point, like you said, where, okay, I gave all I can give to them or what they're getting from me,
Yep.
it's time to move on to, the next level because I don't want to stagnate them, to getting to where they need to go. I want them to be the best of the best, right? So I'm glad
Absolutely.
that you mentioned that. And then also you have some that will basically suck everything out of you. And it's kind of like, okay, this is not working either because you're not getting the best. We're not getting the best out of each other. So, and I have fired two clients in my past. Yeah, life. And first one I did, I was like, I was like, oh, on my mind, I was like, okay, if I get rid of, they're gonna say to what's gonna happen, what's gonna happen. And when I did it the first time, they were like, Barbara, I think you're right. I think we do need to part way. I was like, that went well. They agreed.
Yes. Well, I think there's an innate knowing in things like that, right? Sometimes people don't want to be the one to say it or admit it or whatever the situation may be, but people
Yeah.
know if it's not a good fit. Yeah.
Yeah, because and I had to really work on me because I'm the type of person that I just want to help the whole world and everybody and be happy and do kumbayas and stuff with everybody.
I've
That's
been
just how
through
I
that too.
am. And I had to learn. I had to
Yeah.
learn, Helen.
Yeah, and it's like you said, you used the word boundaries before, and you don't really think of that in terms of selling, but you do have to have boundaries. You have to have boundaries around your price, around your time, around the people that you want to be working with. Um, time constraints, whatever it may be,
Yeah.
those are boundaries. And so it's important to actually have those in place to really thrive.
I'm glad you mentioned that, and I want to get back to the story's uniqueness, but I want you to talk a little bit more about, you said the boundaries about your time and your pricing, and I wanted to mention that to you so you can explain a little bit more because I just came up with come across another associate that I work with, and they are really trying to sell their product. I mean, and I asked them, I was seeing them on like social media and they're just pushing and okay, I have this for $50, and then an hour later, well, now it's $29.99, and then an hour later, oh, I brought it down to 10. And I'm sitting there, I'm looking at this like this is a disaster. And the first thing I thought about, Helen, is he's being authentic, but he's being authentic where he's, and I told him this and he kind of laughed at me, but he admitted it too. I said, you're acting like you're so thirsty. And people are coming across
It's a great
like,
word.
people see that
Yeah.
that's not a good light for you because now you're marking down your price, you're marking down your experience, you're marking down what you give them because you're just so busy trying to, get a penny or something. So yeah, that's a
Yeah.
story right there of
Yes, absolutely. There's
yeah,
some philosophy around, pricing that way. Like you can say, hey, this is worth $497 and I'm offering it for 67 for this workshop or
yeah,
whatever. That's one thing. But to continue to reduce your price is actually telling the world that you're not sure of your value. And that's not a message that you want to put out there.
no. And once you start, and I'm glad because that's the story again, and you're putting out there. How can some people come and change, flip that? Because if they've done it more than once and people have been seeing that, now you're out there looking that way to others.
Yeah.
So that's can be harmful to your business and your sales and marketing.
For sure. But I do want to say it's never too late because all you need to do
Mm,
is change your story.
change. There,
Right?
I knew you had the key. That's the secret sauce.
Yeah, like you know what that's it's just a perfect example of if someone's gone through that and they've hit a level in their business where they realize, "Oh, I need to change things." Maybe they've been working with a coach or whatever, and they've gotten to a point where they understand that that's not the way that they should be doing their business going forward with pricing or, whatever other situation it may be. That's just a perfect example to share. Hey, this was a learning experience for me. And now I realize that in order to give my clients the best that I can, I have to value my time. And so this is now what I'm about. Like that's a story. And that's all you need to do to say to the world, that's gone. I'm not doing that anymore.
Yeah, yeah, and then I'm glad that whole thing came back to what we're talking about with stories. It's like you said, that is a story that he could use once he flips it. Now,
Yes.
the thing with him, he's gonna have
He's
to
got to get there
stop.
first. Yes. Yes. And
Yes,
again, that can come back to one of the things I love to talk with people about on social media, for example, is, sure, you have a workshop or you have something you're putting out, you're going to have some marketing that goes out with pricing, you're going to remind people of the date, those kinds of things. But in between that, that's when you need to be sharing your story on social media. You need to be talking about
that's good.
it can be a news event. It can be something that's going on in the world that you have a personal reflection about if you don't want to come up with your own content. Or it can be stories of your life, walking your dog or whatever situation that you can turn it into a business story and or you can just put it out there to let people know who you are. I've got a talk actually coming up next week, and throughout the talk. It's a 10-minute talk I'm doing for the Achieve Speakers Live network, as a matter of fact, next Wednesday.
I am
And
too.
yes, we are. Oh my goodness, you're right. We're in the same show. Um,
Yes.
so there's four different things that I share about things in my life in that 10 minutes that don't come out like, sit down, I'm going to tell you a story. I
Mhm.
just allude to things that,
Mhm.
this is a situation that happened and I'm a parent of a special needs child and I play baseball. Things like
Mhm.
that come out in my story. So again, it's such a funny way to think about connecting with people. Like that know like and trust factor is so important,
Yes.
but I like to tell people think back to, when you were younger and you first put out a resume to get your first job. And at the very bottom of the resume, you were supposed to put like your special interests and hobbies, right? So maybe the company had a baseball team and they saw that you played baseball, so that's what got you the job. That can be the same thing that happens as an entrepreneur. Someone finds out that you have something in common with them,
Hmm.
an outdoors life, or maybe you're a singer, or who knows what it could be. And then there's a connection instantly without you having to sell them anything, and they just feel comfortable with you because
Hmm.
you've let them know something about you that aligns with who they are.
Yeah.
That's the beautiful part of putting yourself out there, is just allowing those natural connections to happen.
Yeah. And don't force it. Don't try to, like you said, personify what you do. Just let it flow. And that's why I kind of started when we first started this interview, is that when I read and I seen you, I said, "Oh, there's a connection before we even speak." That I love, because you love the storytelling, you love putting that in your business. I love doing that because I tell people stories. People are always going to remember a story. But if you
Yep.
say it's a good story, but people
Yeah.
are going to remember that, and especially if it's a lesson learned from it, or it's some kind of CTA, that you gave them. So when I was reading that, I said, "Oh, Helen is in my world." So right there just started me having that connection with you. And I knew that once we got together and did the interview, I said, "This, I believe this is really going to flow right, because we both have that same, like you said, mindset on certain things."
Yeah, and that's a
Yeah,
perfect example, right?
yeah,
Storytelling resonated with you, and so that was a connection we had even before we got on this call, and it's a connection I'm sure we're going to continue to have.
yeah. And always, I always tell people, never be too, like, okay, well, I can't, I know all this, so I don't have to learn from anybody else. Please, I always tell people, you should be forever learning, until, I always say, gain your wings.
Oh yeah, I'm with
Always
you.
learning. And I don't care
Yeah.
who it is. You learn, and then I tell some people you listen to things what not to do.
Yes. Yeah. And I have to say, just two things on that aspect of learning. Um, One of the things that actually really helped to change my business was that as like a lifelong learner, I became certified as a communication coach and trainer. And so already having this storytelling background, all of a sudden it brought the science into storytelling that I didn't have before. And that changed so much for me in my confidence of how I was putting messaging out to the world. Because you, like you said earlier, you can have a story, if you don't tell it well, then that's a difficulty. But if you also don't tell it in a way that connects with people's values, and understanding that people have different value sets and they're going to hear your story differently, that's really a key as well to making sure your messaging is really strong. So that's one thing I wanted to say on that aspect of learning. And the second part is, that is the probably the biggest joy of my job, is learning about people, learning about their particular skill set or their story. If I'm ghostwriting a book for someone and I have to dig in and learn something about a whole new industry that I didn't know before, or a country, or who knows what, it's just so fun for me to learn and pull that all together in the product that I'm putting out. So I love to
Mm.
learn.
I know, and I love to learn from others. Like, I can listen to you for a long time, because you have so much good golden nuggets, so many things that I can take away and even put with what I'm doing. Because I'm always, I tell everybody, one thing about having a business: if you say you're not a speaker or whatever, you're a speaker. Some people are like, "Well, I'm not a speaker. I'm just trying to sell and I'm trying to service people." And that. No, you're a speaker, because, like you said, just like you said, communication doesn't have to be on a big stage. Communication is one on one, or one to a group.
Yep.
Communication is walking down the street and saying hello, and getting the chance to connect with people. So I always tell people, we're all speakers. We're all going to be communicating with each other. So we might as well just enhance it more and more and more and more every day.
And I think another thing that I really, if you'll allow me to drop another nugget, is when people think of the idea of selling, when you're an entrepreneur, everything you do and say is marketing.
Hmm.
It
So
doesn't matter.
powerful.
It's how you walk into a room, it's how you treat a
Yes.
customer, it's how you show up at networking, it's what you say in an email. Everything you do and say is selling,
Mm.
because you're always kind of um, you're always out there. You're
Yeah.
and that's such a key message, I think, for people to understand. And that's
Mm-hmm.
why the authenticity piece is so important, because you don't ever have to pretend. You don't have
Mm.
to have a certain tone. You just are your tone. And that makes it so much easier.
And then again, why put all the stress? That's
Yeah.
like extra stress that you could just say, well, I know me, I'm just gonna be authentic, you know?
Yes. Yeah, but I think that's difficult in a lot of there's lots of things out there,
Mm-hmm.
packages, promotions that you see online,
Yeah.
coaches that are training you for sales and marketing,
Mm-hmm.
and there's such uh, a default, I guess would be the best word, to try to do it like someone else.
Mm-hmm.
This is how I became successful, so you need to follow this
Yeah.
pattern. And
Yeah.
that's actually not true. You need to find your own pattern. Like, it's great to learn, it's great to take all that information in, but
Mm-hmm.
if you try to show up the way someone else does on your Instagram posts or on your LinkedIn profile, that's not being you. And that's, again, that's where we can really get lost.
Yeah. Oh, that's like a two, three, four golden nuggets all wrapped up in a nice bowl. Oh, Helen, I love talking to you, and I love us giving us the CTAs today because, like I said, each and every one of us, we're learning and growing. And the biggest thing, like you said, every time, and I like what you said, every time you open your mouth, you are marketing, you are putting yourself out there. I always tell people, because I would tell people all the time, you are your brand. They're always so busy on everything else, and I'm like,
Yes,
no, it's right here. It's right here. So
absolutely.
like you said, we're always speaking, that, and we're always being who we are. So I love that. So what I want to do is I'm going to give you 30 seconds. I want to just any lasting thoughts for the audience, and then we'll come and wrap it back up. So I'll be right back.
Thanks for the opportunity, Barbara. I think what I would just kind of want to end on is just to remind everyone out there as an entrepreneur that you have it all. You have what you need. No one else shows up in their business the same way that you do. And you just need to own that. And that's going to make such a difference in your confidence, in your sales. And there's so many more things you can learn about storytelling and marketing and strategy and whatever. But that's the most important thing, is that you already have it. It's all in here, and you just need to get it out there to the world.
Boom. Mic drop. Wow, Helen. So it has been an honor and a pleasure to have you, Queen Helen. Remember, put that crown on. There you go. So, how can the wonderful audience get a hold of you? Because I know they're going to want to be getting to you quickly. So, can they contact you?
Thanks so much. So you can find me on LinkedIn. Helen Harwood Snell Storyteller is my handle on LinkedIn. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram under Helen Harwood Snell as well. And my email address is hhswrites, as in writing a book, at gmail.com, or helenharwoodsnell.com is my website.
Wow. We're going to now, Helen, before we close, I want to make sure because, again, this is for people got to get to know you, what you do, and what you help people with. But what kind of client are you looking for?
Mm, thank you for asking that. I am looking for the client who is frustrated with their messaging, and it could be your messaging on networking, on your website. It could be the message that you want to put out on stage, or it could be a huge message that you want to share to the world in a book. So I'm looking for entrepreneurs that are kind of ready to level that messaging up. That's where I want to come in and help with this language alchemy approach, which is communication science and storytelling all wrapped up in one.
So I need to get you to my friend, my associate that I just told you about. They need to sign up with you. So I will. I already jotted that down and said, okay, you might get an
Awesome.
introduction in a few days. But
I
yeah, so
appreciate the
they
referral.
yeah, I'll refer. I don't have no problem with that at all. If it helps them, right?
Yes.
So with that, that's why I want to make sure that you know exactly who Queen Helen is looking for, as far as her client, who she can help, she helps. She's the lighthouse of the world in this area. So let her be your light in your world to make sure that it opens up even more and more for yourselves. This is what it's all about. And that's what Achieve's all about, the experts, is to make sure that you're lighting up not only in your own, but helping others, right?
Yes,
Yes.
absolutely.
So again, thank you, Helen, for coming on. You are welcome anytime. This is home. This is family. And anything else that's coming up in your world, please let me know and we can share it here on Achieve Experts Highlight Show. We would love to do that for you. And
Thank you,
again,
Barbara.
we will see everybody at the next Achieve Expert Highlight Show. Again, like I said before, be that lighthouse to the world. Bye.